Hi there, welcome to Transcone Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Wildwood 178Bhsk. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera, as well as a collapsible lippered stair system, so you can get up and periodically check all your seals up on the roof with ease. We do sell those here at the shop. You just have to contact the parts department and they can put together a quote for you. You do also have your spare tire located at the back here and coming along the passenger side of the unit, as well as on both sides of the unit for the bumper cap. Pull that guy off. That's typically where you're going to want to put your sewer hose after your first use. We have a brand new one located in the front compartment, which is why it's not in there yet. After your first use, that is where you're going to want to try and keep it. Just tries to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. And then coming a little more to the back here, you got your stabilizer jacks. The way those works are, you got one in all four corners. To hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool, which does come included. Again, it's inside the front compartment. Run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 quarter turn. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. Just a quick note with those, they are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. Same goes for if you're ever using an impact for running them up or down. Being mindful of how much torque you put on them, it's quite easy to bend them. You got your 2 low point drains. So if you don't want the water going stale or stagnant because you're leaving it for a while, that's going to be where you're going to want to drain that, and it's going to try and empty as much fluid out of the lines as possible. It's a nice method. Once you're done winterization, pulling those caps off just to allow some of that antifreeze out. And then just to the left of that, you got your main sewer outlet. You're just taking that cap, twisting it, and pulling it off. You're just taking note of those ears there. It's going to be the same ears your sewer hose have. They just line up with the notches like this and click and lock into place. You got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. It's your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. Then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Up on the side of the unit from there, you got your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You just take a note of that notch there. Lines up with this notch on this side. Line that guy up, firmly press it into place, 8th turn to lock it in. Then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in. But let's say your campsite doesn't have 30 amp service, or you're at home and you want to run your fridge. We do include that 15 amp park adapter, which is your standard household outlet. Just keep it in mind whenever you're using it, you're not going to be able to run your air conditioner. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights and charge up your battery. And whenever you are plugged in, getting that solid blue light letting you know that you have a successful power source. If the red light were to be on, just letting you know your source of power isn't good. It's not a problem with the trailer. You get your city water connection. So if you're at a site with service, threaded garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And down from there, reading the caution sticker, of course, first. It's your black tank flush. So if you're noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor around the unit, you can pull this cap off, threaded garden hose in there. Caution sticker is just stating that you do have to have your hose connected as well as the black tank open. Reason being, once you're pushing pressure into the tank, if that pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand the tank to the point of cracking. So it's always a good idea to flush that out every few times, but of course, just being mindful to have that tank open and hose connected. In this front compartment here, we're popping this guy open. This is where you get your 3/4 inch drive tool for your stabilizer jacks. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery inside that box there. Right at the front on the frame here, you got your battery disconnect switch. So if it with it in the on position like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you return it to the off position, the batteries do come disconnected from the unit. Added with that, the 12-volt system does become disconnected even if you were to be plugged in. So if you're ever to plug in and notice you don't have any lights or anything, that'd be the first place I'd look, just making sure you do have the battery connected. You got your front propane cover, which I just have off for the purpose of the video. Right up top, standard barbecue style propane tank. You got the one strap, safety strap holding it in, and then you do have that wing nut which clamps that tank down, holding it firm into place. Like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise all the way slowly, opens up the flow of propane to the unit. Front power tongue jack right at the front, light turns it on. You got down and up. Manual override right at the top. Now coming around over to your front here, flipping that guy open. That's the tool for the manual override on the tongue jack. You got a weight distribution box here, which this customer opted to go with. And then additional to that, that's where that starter pack's located. It's gonna have that 10-foot sewer hose, which I've already told you about. Additionally, it comes with a 15-foot water hose, a 15-amp park adapter. Again, I've already told you about that. And then just some other miscellaneous goodies. Along the side of the unit, you got this little flap here. Whenever you get to your campsite, always making sure that's unclamped so that whenever you run your range hood, it's evacuating those fumes. And then whenever you're done, pushing that and locking it into place in its tabs. Sometimes you gotta persuade it a little bit, lock it into place. That's just stopping any excess dust from getting inside the unit. Got your furnace exhaust. So whenever your furnace is running, it's gonna be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Fresh water filter if you're out boondocking, or you just don't have a site with water. Put a garden hose in there, turn it on. That's what fills your fresh tank. That's what your water pump draws off of. And then right below the floor is the drain for that. It's much like the low point drains. Just taking that cap off, it's gonna drain all the water that's inside the tank. Service port for your hot water heater. Pulling, opening up that guy. Mainly really two things you got to worry about in here. That power switch does supply power to the thermostat inside. Just making sure that that's on when you want to use it. Then you got your pressure relief valve. So before I go into that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. It's a tankless system. So if you've had trailers before, typically when you had a tanked water heater, there's bypass valves at the back because you don't want antifreeze going in there during winterization. This is the total opposite. You want to make sure you run antifreeze through it. And then once you're done your whole winterization process, while you're cracking the low point drains, crack your pressure relief valve, leave it cracked open for the duration of winter. That way, as that antifreeze gels up in the cold winter months here in Manitoba, it just gives it a place to go instead of expanding inside those copper coils and causing a leak. You got your exterior shower. Opens up with your standard 751 key. It's going to come included with your unit. Twist, open it up, hot and cold water. 2 110 plug-ins. And then you got your rear exterior kitchen. Open up that guy. You got your 110 mini fridge. So whenever you're hooked up to shore power, that guy's going to be running. It doesn't run off 12 volts. Be mindful of that. Get your griddle out. You're lifting that safety notch up, pulling it back. Again, you might have to lift it up again. And then you got that last safety latch. Pulling that guy all the way over just stops it from being sucked inside the unit. Then you got your propane quick connect line. Unconnecting that. Run the one end down to the floor. This end works like any standard airline. You're just pulling back on the coupler and inserting it onto that valve there, locking it into place. And then you can come down with this end. And you got your other end. Always making sure you always put your dust caps back into place whenever you're done using it, so you're not getting any debris in there. Put that there, just like the top, pulling back on the collar, snapping it into place, it locks in. And then you got the valve at the top. Opening up the valve opens up the flow of propane. Added safety feature, you can't operate the coupler whenever the flow is open. Then you can just come to your griddle, turn it over to the high/light option, and hit the sparker. And there you go, it does fire right on up. You're gonna see it did take a few tries there. That is quite normal when it comes to operating this, because whenever you turn the propane system off, it allows air inside. So whenever you first get to your campsite, turning that propane back on, quick method, always fire up your griddle first, or you can start with your stove inside. That's just the easiest method to purge all the air in the line. So if you go to fire up your water heater or your furnace, you're not gonna get any fault codes throwing you off. Get inside the unit, taking that assist handle, pushing it up, holding it 90 degrees, it'll lock in place. That'll allow you to open up the door, hold on your stairs. You're gonna notice whenever this door is fully open, it's gonna collide with that awning arm. So before you ever run your awning, always making sure you have your door closed 90 degrees. That way that awning arm can run freely and you're not gonna cause any damage to the door or the arm. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. A couple different light switches. The one's going to do the outside awning light. The other one's going to do the main interior lights in the living space. Next, you do have your control for your awning. Pushing it up is extend. Unfortunately, today we're not going to be able to get to full extension, but typically you know you're at full extension when you see the little flap hang down in the back of the tube show. whenever you are putting this out, always making sure you keep an eye on the wind speeds, because once they start picking up, it doesn't take much to bend your arm or rip your fabric. So that's all we're going to go out today. Now, if we were to start reaming, you can take any arm, front or rear. You got these plastic clasps here, pushing it in, and that'll allow you to pull that awning arm in, changing the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better because it allows more shade underneath, you do the same thing with the front arm, just always making sure you do lift these back to their original position. That way when you go to run it in, it's not going to bend anything. And running it in would be as simple as holding the button down. The awning's going to make its way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, they're just going to turn off. Next, you have your slide out control. So the slide out, it's going to start pushing its way out. Once it's at full extension, it's going to automatically cut out the motors. Unfortunately, today the bay's a little too narrow, so I won't be able to get it out all the way. I'll put it out as much as I can. And before you ever run your slide out, always being mindful of what's on either side of the slide, so that way you don't run the risk of damaging anything inside or out. The reason I see inside is things do tend to move around whenever you're traveling. So just double checking to make sure nothing's caught between the slide out, and just making sure on the other side of the slide that you're not going to be running it into any trees or anything. Then the next you do your monitor panel system. So you got your battery, fresh, your black, and your gray. Pushing the button will give you the corresponding level. Tanks go empty, a third, 2/3, and full, and then your battery is down below. Low, fair, good, and C would be charging. On the wall, you got your little Bluetooth JBL speaker, clips and unclips on the wall here. Nice little thing. You can take it to the beach with you. Storage all around, just always, of course, being careful of drains, water lines, and wiring. Sleep app access on both sides with plugins. Next, you got your Murphy style couch bed. Obviously, it's in the couch position. If you get into the bed position, you're just having to pull up on the couch. The couch is going to fold down. We'll allow you to fold down your mattress and unflip it. And you have yourself a bed. Get it back into its position. You're just flipping that back, flipping it on its back, assisting the couch up. Sometimes you have to pull on the top a little bit just to get it to lock into place. And then you have your seating space back. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just sit where you leave them. Coming into the kitchen area, stove runs off propane because you have propane equipped inside this unit. You got your LP detector right here near the ground if this guy ever starts going off. You're just getting to worrisome oxygen levels, so don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane, open up some windows and vents to ventilate things out, get some fresh oxygen inside here. It's also very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so if you ever spray something around it and it starts going off, use your best judgment, but sometimes it is just that harsh chemical. That's your furnace output here. This is the only output inside the unit, so whenever your furnace is running, it's going to blow all its air out of here. Up top, you got your stove, and like I said earlier about the griddle, I always recommend firing this with the griddle up before you fire anything else. That way it just allows you to purge all the air out. Whenever you are running the stove, I recommend running your range hood, that way you are evacuating those propane fumes. To get it to light, you're just pushing it over to the high/light option. It does fire on up. Microwave up top, not much I'm going to show you there. It's pretty much just like home. You got your binder here. It's going to include any manuals and of course your keys for the unit. Got your sink, hot and cold water. This is going to be your standard household style blind. So just pulling it down, clicking it the one way to lock it, pulling it the other way will unlock it. Thermostat, your water heater. Again, you have to push the switch outside, and then you can hit your power button to turn it on, up or down. Changes your set temperature. You're locked to 50 whenever you go below 55, just as an added safety feature so kids can't scold their hands. To unlock it, you're just having to push the up button for about 5 seconds. Then you can go back up to 55 Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Power button, turn it back off. Furrion fridge, freezer combo. Controls for both are just right down below here. Obviously clockwise all the way is going to be its coldest setting. Anywhere before that is a warmer setting. Then you got that off-grid rating there. That's just letting you know the most battery efficient setting to run it on if you're running off battery power. Charcoal filter to help with fridge odors. If you'd like to get a replacement one of those, you can contact our parts department. They can put together a quote for you. Got your main fuse and breaker panel, flipping that guy down whenever you have a breaker trip. It'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And you have all your corresponding fuses on the right. Beside that, you're going to notice you got antifreeze inlet. This is where you're going to get access to your water pump if you're doing winterizing yourself. Screw on either side, pulling those guys out. This false panel will pop out of place and your water pump will be back there. It's where you can follow your hose back to your bypass valve. You got your little dinette area, accent lights on their own center push buttons. And then if you come down below, you're going to notice you got two different bicycle style clamps, I guess you could call them. It's going to allow you to move that table around. It's also going to allow you to pull the table right out in case you want to have some extra bed space because you have some guests coming. You'd have to unlock that one, unlock this one, pull the table right out of its top. Set your tabletop on these desired ledges, and you can take your back cushions to fill in the center. Again, nice little feature in case you have guests, and of course you do have storage space down below. Air conditioner right above your head. The controls are all right here. You got two low fan settings. That's just moving air around using the air conditioner. No cooling or anything involved. Louvers on either side, so you can decide where you want your airflow. There is intake filters here. You just have to pull these at the tabs. It'll pop, the plastic will pop out of place. Sometimes this can get clogged with dust, so it's good to blow it out with some compressed air every once in a while. Next, you get your high fan. Again, you're just moving it around with the air conditioner. Now getting into blue. Now that is when your air conditioning takes into effect. You got high fan, low fan, and then you do have a temperature control setting over here. Just keeping in mind, you don't have a heat pump installed, so typically you're just going to leave it on the blue because the red isn't hooked up to anything. All the way off to turn it off. Over on the wall here, you got your pre-mounted TV bracket in case you wanted to mount a TV, just being mindful of the space you have here. Of course, because you don't want it running into your slide out or coming over past your door. Up top, you got your plugins as well as your coax outlets. Right next to that is that little black button. Pushing that on turns the green light on. It does turn the antenna on the roof. Now that also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so whenever you get to your campsite, I always recommend turning it on and leaving it on. But of course, when you're done with the camper, that antenna does draw constant power if it's on. So just turning it off once you're done. Just try and decrease the power it's sucking out of it when you're not using it. Thermostat for your furnace is right here, all the way to the right. It's going to be as hot as setting. Anywhere before that is going to be a cooler setting, and all the way cycling it back to off and clicking it turns it off. As an additional added safety feature, it runs for an additional 3 minutes after you turn it off just to allow itself to cool down. You got your bunk spaces, lights on both, and you do have USB plugins in both as well. Opening up the door, you get into your bathroom space, light switch on the wall right underneath the medicine cabinet. You got your main GFI plug on the wall. You got reset in the middle, test on the bottom. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look, just making sure that this isn't tripped. And other than that, it is your basic bathroom. And then of course, in the shower area, you got that vent lid. You're just having to pull up and down with this and locking it into place. But being mindful, you're gonna see you open up straight into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining, it could get wet in here. And of course, if you didn't close it while traveling, you could cause damage to the vent lid, which is why here at the store, we do sell Max Air covers. It's a cover that goes over top of this vent. It'll allow you to run that whenever it's raining or while you're driving. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, just giving our parts department a phone call, they can put together a quote. Other than that, that's pretty much it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.